morning. These were the next calculated odds that I had using kind of the same rollovers from last night. There were some periods in between here too, which it looks like they held. These are obviously very, very, very important spots, but more importantly, like I have a lot to say obviously, but this hold right here, this is insane. The fact that they held these ranges here and then opened here is crazy. So where was the real-time open today? Tesla's crossing right here, I think. Yeah, right in here. Off 930, right at the 75. That's a really calculated spot to open. They open at the 430, 460 point ranges. Okay, which is what kind of keeps these odds in play. I don't have all the spots marked on here, but I did send them. 431 has a lot of confluence. So does the 438. This area in here. So does 441 to 42. This range in here. And then for like upside ranges, this is if they give us a big push. Obviously there's a lot of overhead in the zone between 7,422 to 31, but if they some way somehow can push through the zone and exit the channel, there are some odds that they could still give us the 50s today. That's where I had the most confluence, and that's mainly because they did reduce range yesterday. That's why I don't think that we could get 70s today. But I feel like relative to what they do this afternoon, and mainly because of where we opened, they could still have those odds, because these areas here are those calculated spots. Okay, so this was the first window I had for some retest this afternoon. Let me reset this on Tesla. Intel's just insane. On a base note, this is kind of like a zone hold and basically us getting into some core ranges here. So it is a big spot. This one stalled at 1185, but it's still holding off 1095 and 11. It does need back over 1120 though. This is kind of the area that it really has to hold and get back over. Otherwise, I would probably cut this one. Needs to get back at least above here to try re-triggering there. So ES, when I measured the odds today too, this has odds basically until end of session today, like very, 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 very late in the session. Okay, around where'd it go? Right in here, around 354, 55, basically right into close. Okay, so, and a few minutes after the close, which is why this could end up being durational. A lot of this is going to depend on what they do off our 7420s during when. Like, this isn't a coincidence that they're coming right back here at this point in the day. Obviously clearing here before mid-session would be the best case scenario. Mid-session being between the 12:30, 12:45, 1:15 window. Okay. I had some odds just after 1 in here. Where were they? Like around 110, 108. These were calculated odds. I don't know if we have any. Do we have any auctions this afternoon? And then there was a window in between just after 2 that I'm going to be watching for too this afternoon. But this was one of the earlier ones. And again, I could maybe be off by a tiny, tiny bit, but let me see. And mainly off like these big breaks right here. These are like the 205, 210, 215 increments that we talked about. Maybe 210 off the secondary high. So these periods here, remember, you see how they stalled right here, you guys? Okay, it would be important that off like the 210 breaks that they don't, okay? Because then that's the kind of price action you'd get. So I'd say that that's probably an important oil. Yeah, the Fed speaker I'm aware of, but okay, so this is linked to this stall, okay? Once they claimed 74.11 and then broke. So I guess a way that you can think of this is this would be a calculated time for them to basically have to try clearing 74.20s to avoid having a reduction like this, okay? So calculated time to clear 74.20 to avoid deeper retracement similar to 74.11 stall. Okay, that time, does that make sense? This time is correlated to this point in time here. Okay, and you can see the kind of reduction we had there. It was pretty steep. How much range was that when they reduced it? That was at least 22 points. So 22 points being taken away there would net probably our 33. Yeah, it does. So these are probably right in line with our 3.3, 3.4, 3. Do you see what I'm saying? These areas here. So avoiding that breakdown here is what could get this pushing basically to the 74, 33, 30, 31, 34. And this is what's linked to 4.4. And then these tiny, tiny reductions back in here, they're not much, but that's likely what is linked to 5.8. Yeah, it is. Okay, so the ranges make total sense today, that they're still linked to the 30s, 40s, and 50s, even off the points that they reduced. The only reason it's okay is because of one thing and one thing only. 74.20 clearing right on time. These are some calculated points here, specifically off this 12.14, 12.15. These are directly correlated to this little sell-off here when they stalled 74.11 back in here. Okay, so you'd probably want to have a similar type range. So let's see, off here they had roughly 3 points, 3, 3.75, 5.75. So on the break, you likely want to see something very, very similar. That's probably going to be close to like the 23, 24 area, okay? 3 points is right around 23. 3.75 is right around 24. The full break is close to the 25 range. I would say that that condition is met. What do you guys think? Tesla kind of stalling here. These are some really big spots on Tesla. I've been using the same intervals, but I probably could measure off here just to see where did they open this today, because this was moving off like 16 to 17 point moves. I'm just gonna mark these just for intraday. Here and right about where it's hitting right here. So probably a very important spot for this to try holding. Off the 17 point intervals, it's likely closer to here. Okay, that makes sense why they're stalling here. These are the 17 point intervals off Tesla's opening stick range, okay? So This is linked to that stick open, high, low, close off the high. That 17-point interval is right where it stalled. Do you guys see that? That's insane. Look at that. The 1705 interval is 431.05. So that's the area basically that Tesla has to clear to get that push to 432, 433. This is the area that it likely has to sustain though, and that's kind of where it's struggling here. Like, do you see that? How it kind of came back right beneath here. So it needs back above here. And these are off the lows. I don't know if you guys can see that. That's pretty insane. That it's actually moving in exactly those 17-point intervals that we talked about the day before. Do you guys see that? What about from real time today? I didn't measure off real time's open. So probably right about here. I just want to see if they're the same. Yeah, they're pretty close to being the same target ranges, but that's probably what could get those expansions, I guess. But it really needs to get back above this range here. 1705. These would be like these areas in here. I don't know why the cursor's doing that, but like roughly in here. Off that opening stick, that's linked to, I think, those 430s. But this is a big area for it to not lose, basically. And this one too. Okay. Quailclamp's trying to make a comeback. One thing that you guys could also do too is maybe measure how long this duration took, like from the stalls here, like especially in terms of going back to 70, 73, 94, 95, and 88. The total duration back to our 8-8 holds back in here, or like our 9-2 holds, was 23 minutes, which could be like the same sort of window that we could use in here. These were like some of the earliest odds. 23 minutes is close to here. Okay, here. And then off here, there's probably some extensions. In here. I'm just gonna mark these in yellow. But they're probably linked to mid-session too. Yeah, they are. I don't have 416 mark, but that was a calculated spot from yesterday, this area here, so we probably do have to hold. Also the 1925 and 75 area was calculated, I'm pretty sure, like this area in here. So if they're still holding there, then that's probably a good thing. And this still gives it that odd to basically come back and break during this interval here, okay? Especially off these retracements of like 16, 19. Do you see what I'm saying? Off here. These would be the points right in here. Okay, this is linked to here, to noon. This is linked to the break of 19. This had the highest odd though of getting that actual structure break, because this was a calculated time at 12:02. Do you want to delay much longer though than this 23-minute time interval here, like this window, and specifically like beneath these areas? Probably not. I just wanted to see if the real-time low is linked to like this pre-market low is linked to this spot, and it is on Tesla. Okay, let's see here. It's trying, you guys. This is the calculated point off that 23-minute interval. 74.22 being taken out here. I think that is that a new high? No, it's not, but it's at least coming back over that 2122. I would say that that's a pretty progressive stick. What do you guys think? Especially to keep that secondary window open. The only thing is we probably wanted to at least try closing above that 2075. But at least it's testing it. I don't think it's a... Okay, that's a high of Dave. That's not a new high, though. The points I marked in yellow are these 23-minute intervals. So here, here, here. Okay, and specifically to these points in here. Okay. This is the window. That's a really good negation stick here to follow. I need to set an alert on Tesla for 20. Oops. Where's my Tesla alert? For 29.30. Oh, it is doing it. 74.23 being taken out. These are the ranges that we just talked about. Remember how we said that, okay, if they come back and take them out, we ideally want these breaks to be the same sort of reduction sticks they had here. Okay, like roughly 3 points, 5.75. I think those are the exact ranges. I didn't mark them on there, but do you see that? 3 points. Okay, and we said it's around the 2.3, 2.4 area. 5.75 I think was closer to like 2.5, 2.6. Which 2.6 is a calculated spot for today's session, just FYI. I sent them this morning. But that's the kind of structure break you want to see. It's basically to avoid this from playing out, okay? And that's what could keep that 22-point extension in play. Does that make sense? 74.24 being taken out. These are calculated periods linked to that sell-off that we had at 74.11 calculated range. And these would be the exact same point intervals, I guess, that you could say. On SPX, it'd basically be us testing this neutral kind of zone. So on SPX, if ES gets the full targets today, SPX would be a core to core move. Okay, so SPX would be like a 73.20s hold to maybe a 74.20s break. That would be the equivalent of moving to, I think, the channel on ES with maybe odds of those 50s. Let me just double check. I think that's the 22-point move. Yeah, it is. Do you see what I'm saying, you guys? That would be the same thing. That's the 22-point move here. Okay? So if we had a 22-point move on ES that gets recycled from this downside break based on mid-session clearing, okay, at these calculated times, we could basically use this 22-point range break off 74.11 to here. That's what would give us odds of getting the 74.33 and then potentially odds of getting 74.45, 74.49. Okay. Let's turn on YouTube. There is... Where did I put my chart on this one? I really like the CSCO setup. I don't know where I charted it though. Where did it go? I thought it was on here. Oh, maybe. Here it is. CSCO, this is a really clean 4-month chart, okay? This one could keep going until basically end of summer, okay? This is on a 4th bar. I really like this one. When I looked at the annual ranges, these are basically where it's triggering right now, so... And this one usually can have pretty cheap premiums. This is, again, another one of those lower volatility plays, kind of similar to Intel, but the base break of this could push it to 101, and then the wider ranges are like 110, 128. Okay, so I would keep this one on watch. This was a swing trade idea from last year, if you guys remember. Like, I really like this one. Like, long story short, like, you see how this had like this big like sell down, sell off right here. I figured from this sell off, specifically off 2024, 2025, from this, do you see this sell off candle here in 2022? Okay, that it could basically get that same sort of move. So that's what would kind of put it in play for 70, for like the 110, 112 areas. Okay, that was my thought process on this. If you want to pull up actual structures, like with the nice reversals, then I think they were on the 2-month. I don't know if you guys can see that, or I'm pretty sure it was like just over 2 months. I don't remember the exact interval. It was kind of like a weird time frame, but off the 9-month you can kind of see the bear flag. Do you guys see that right here? Okay, even if you want to just measure the base flag of that exhaustion period, you see how they basically negated this from happening back here. Do you see this? So it's 36.38. Okay, if we measure 36.38, this is pretty crazy, but like just pay attention. Okay, can you guys also let me know if ES breaks? I don't think I have alerts set above that. 0.38 would be right around 34.44, okay? This area here. Okay, so 74.82. And this is measured off of here, okay? If we're measuring off of like closing ratios, 30, it's like right around here. 77.05. I just want to show you guys because this is pretty insane. Just real quick. And then off of the actual stick, which is here. Okay, and then here. Do you see the open close ratios on this, you guys? It's pretty impressive. So this basically negated this bear flag essentially from happening, okay? Do you see that on the open close? Look at that. Isn't that insane? And so what you could do is you could apply the same ratio above here, okay? Or you could technically do it off of here too. I feel like that might be a bit more accurate, but like from here. And this is likely going to give you the closest variables to like those annual opening ranges, closing ranges, whatever you want to call them. Low ranges, okay? Especially off like that low right here. I don't know if you can see this. So 36.38 would be just a little bit higher than that. Okay. Do you see this? And then these would be like the bigger structure breaks. So right in here. You obviously could measure right in here if you want. I would also measure right in here. And you could measure off these specific bars in here, okay? Specifically here. So 3.8 would be just under $100 basically, okay? I don't know if you guys see this. And just over, I think it's like, yeah, it's just under 100. Right here. Do you see this, guys? This is on Cisco. So this is basically what could give this a pretty massive incline, okay, on some of these structures. Because if you're measuring off here, there isn't really anywhere to go. So once you start measuring off here, do you see how it would take you to like 110, 111? I would for sure look into this name for maybe some July or August calls for like the 110, 112, okay? Especially off these areas here. I'll make like a very quick template of this, but hold on. I'm gonna have to, I just want to show you guys though. Do you see how clean this is? especially on the year. Look, this is such a nice looking setup. So I would for sure keep this one on watch. It's a pretty cheap mover too once it gets going. Let me just reset this one. I just want to show you guys what those ranges were. Anyway. There's some reduction sticks here. That's all that was required during this period though, so was to take out that range and try testing that 74, 23, 24 area. I think they stalled exactly at 24. I didn't think that they could push 26 just yet. Tesla's getting super close to getting these structure breaks here. I'm going to watch Tesla for mid-session, which is 12:45, just to see if it can clear back over this. $429.80. How did you guys end up doing this week? Also, remember that these are for sure areas that can be max ranges, so don't go overboard with things too. Like, these are pretty big spots in the 74.20s. Like, if the market wants to give us 74.30s and 40s, great, okay? But just mid-session is obviously going to determine this for us, like, based on what's happening here, especially off 74.20s. Do you guys think it's a coincidence that the index is at 74.20s, okay, at mid-session? What do you guys think? Is that a coincidence that they're triggering that area at this point in the day? Probably not, right? But we're also aware that if they want to start reducing some of the range, that they definitely can. I noticed crude also held off our 88.47. Okay, our 89. And it's kind of just nesting in here so far. That's something that we should probably keep watching. So they met the condition on time and then reduced range. Oh, I think... What did I just get an alert on? I got a broker alert, but that didn't even move. Some reductions on Tesla. Same spot for ES. 429.25 is the overhead for Tesla. This was linked with those low ratios. So this stalling here is basically, in other words, this failing to get like a break back over those 16 to 17 point intervals off open, okay, or off lows. Does that make sense? This is that 17.05, okay, this area here. This is exactly right around that 17 point range. It has to break over for 29.20. Otherwise, that's what could fill this. You see this gap right here? Like the gap down, that could be the same range that would be used. It's about 3.5 points. Okay, basically beneath here. That's why there's support in between here around like 425, whatever that is. So we're trying to prevent that from happening. And I noticed when it did breach that here, it was roughly by the same type of range in here. And off these calculated areas, probably better that it holds kind of where it's holding here. I don't know if you guys see that, like right in here. So these would probably be some areas where you'd want to start basing some higher lows, okay, like off of this. That's a really nice stick break on this one. Okay, I'm gonna use the washroom real quick. I'll be right back. Remember, guys, how I was saying on YouTube you have to have 3,000 hours? Do you guys remember that? They just changed it to 4,000 hours. Like, I don't know if that's something new or it's just me. I don't know if that's something that they just changed or something. I feel like that just changed or something. I think that changed literally on, I don't even know that just changed. Oh, is that's so annoying. I was so close. Oh, holy, I didn't even get an alert on that. Where even is my Intel chart? Uh, it's this one. No, it's not. Holy shit. What? Holy crap. Did you end up, I bought more. Did you guys buy what I said I bought more? Wow. How did I not get an alert at 120? I thought I had that set. I have calls already, but I bought more earlier when I was telling you guys I bought more Intel. That was like, oh, I don't know. It said 3,000 when I looked at it. Thank you guys. I bought more Intel in here. I really like the way it was basing above 115, but that's an insane move. That could easily now start pushing then to that 126. That's crazy. 126 is the next target, so I can see it. Then 131, 132, like that's not that far off. We were talking, can someone post these in the thread? Post these to my Intel thread, please. The calls were also kind of expensive, by the way. Like, I was trying to buy some more calls for next week, but they were pretty overpriced. So that's another reason I knew that they likely were going to ramp it. Hey, that's a huge tip, by the way. So I looked at the one, what was I looking at? I was looking at the 120s for next week, but they were super expensive. So then I figured the ones that had better odds were the 125s and 130s. That's usually an indication that they're going to push price, okay? For future reference, 120s were insanely expensive. So I bought 125s, okay? For next week. I already have calls for this week and I just added 120s for today, but what I noticed that the differential in price was huge. I'm like, oh, that means that they're probably going to ramp to 126, 132. High odds of 126, 132 ramps, okay? Because they were kind of like almost pricing it in, if that makes sense. 124 getting taken out here on Intel. Intel has very, very high odds of pushing to that 132. Today, these are some annual ranges I have for this name. This is also breaking on the daily. Can't remember exactly when that flip date was. I think it's, I thought it was off a 21 day, but I'm just going to double check. Because it had a nice flag. I think it's, yes, this 21 day, there's a really, really nice flag. Same with like the 22 and up. Oh, it was a 22 day. This flips on May 11th. I don't know if you guys remember. I shared this in my thread. Okay, post this in there too, guys. This is the ramp through May 11th. Okay, so the final trading day for this would be today. Today's the final day, okay? Today is the final day. That's another huge reason why I added. I'm pretty sure I shared this with you guys on... I did share this with you guys. I made a thread and I posted it with the 12-month ranges and that daily flag and that 11-month flag, and that there's also a 51-day break that's moving on there. That flips on the 11th. So, and these were the calculated ranges off of that to 126.53, 131.35, 131.96. I mean, I didn't think that they would do it literally before the 11th, but that's an insane break. We also looked at these time frames, and these ones run till June. Okay. That is insane. Another way that you can look at this too is off that 21 day, you see this massive bear flag right here. You could easily take this, okay, this range in general on this, that was like 34.31 points. Overall bear flag range on this was like 40.69, so 34.31, 40.69. Someone write these down. These could easily be the upside ranges on this break. So 34.31, 40.69, 45. Let's see. That's pretty close to being that 50.78 right here. Let's... What did I say it was? I literally forgot. 40.69, 45.63, 40.69. 40.69. I'm just making sure my numbers are right. 40.69. I'm 99% sure on this flag break, especially off that midpoint 12-month exhaustion that I mentioned here. Okay, you can measure it off of here, or you can measure it where it actually started to break. So 40, what is it? 40.69. Can someone write it down so I don't have to keep double checking and flipping back my screen? 40.69 would be... It has to be my spot. It's this spot here. Mark this on your charts. This is a huge area for... Yes, it is, right? Okay, I might be off by a few cents. 126.56. 126.56. Let me just mark that. And then the extension on that, if they get that continued break, is that 40... What is it? 45.63. 45.63 extension would be 45.63 extension. I'm pretty sure is the 131s, but let me just double check. What is it? 45.63. 45.63 is 131.50. So yes, these are the calculated spots. Okay. I was measuring, obviously not off these sticks, like off of my actual ranges, but you can measure off the actual range that occurred on the 29th. Okay, these are extremely calculated price points for this thing to hit. Here, someone share these in the thread, please. Keep posting these in the thread so that you know what these are measured off of. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That looks more like a... Like, I already know that that's flagging, but this... kind of like a 3-day flag, I guess you could say. It's not really, but close. And this is on the 8th flip date. But that is kind of a 3-day flag. It's kind of hard to see. It's not... This is more of like a... Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, that also flips on the 11th. You could maybe use the 3-4 day. They're not the cleanest. This is working in like half-day intervals from... what I'm seeing. There it is. 126.56 is huge. This is a massive area, guys, for Intel. This area is huge. Where's my INTC charts? These spots here are basically what can net a break to these 131, 132. 126.56 break can net to 131.50 on IMTC. These are extremely calculated. Okay, I'm gonna mute myself for a bit, guys. I need to focus. ES time intervals are right now, by the way. I just went back to check it. It's closer to like, I marked one, but it's closer to like 108, 110. Okay, so those would be some times in the day that you'd probably want to make sure that they can try retagging that 74.19, 74.20. This is a clear trade on Intel off the 3-bar exhaustion ranges. Okay, these are huge, especially an open close above 126.56. That's insane. I noticed when I was buying earlier that the calls were expensive. That's why I went a little bit out of the money, because I figured they're likely going to ramp this over these annual intervals. Also, the price action here off 119.24, 120.10 is insane. Okay, these are really calculated spots too. So the fact that they broke it like this, I want to mark these actual open close though, just so that I have them in the future. Look at that. Oh my god. Did any of you guys capture Intel? This is huge. Like, that's a massive annual break. This is basically an annual exhaustion range. Okay, so when you get ranges like this and cleared breaks like this, they just basically keep ripping. And this has catalyst to help push price, obviously. You don't trust me enough. That's a lack of trust. You said looking droopy right before our calculated intervals. I don't think so. 104 was the earliest odd of retagging that 74.22. We'll see if they can try taking out these ranges here. These are huge spots for the market to break. Tesla held that 426.96. So that was that little mark that I put on here from here. I don't know if you guys can see that off these calculated intervals. Okay, on these highs right here. These are calculated spots that I linked to this off that same exact gap range between lows and my calculated spot at 410. So see if Tesla can get a break of that 429. CSCO also is getting a massive break. Like, this one is also continuing to rip. These are the few positions I have left open for today's session today outside of the index. All right, let's see. Let's reset some alerts on ES. Intel's not stopping until it triggers these 130s. That is insane. Holy. Did anyone trade it? That cleared break is huge. And when I say cleared, usually you don't stall. Okay, so, and who was it that told me? Eddie, thank you. Because I forgot. I don't know why my alert didn't go off for 121. That 121 break is huge. And 119. That basically can push directly from here, okay, to here. And then from here to here, which is literally what it's doing. That's insane. Look at ES2. ES getting a big break right on time. They're not stopping till they trigger these spots. That's crazy. Could you imagine they push to like 138? I didn't really measure too much more above this, but that would be insane. Could you imagine that this thing gets like full range breaks? Full range breaks, by the way, would be double range. So it'd be like from here, okay, do you see, off like here, the 88 area, these areas here, do you see that? These are the full range breaks, okay, off of here. That's what could net basically my 138 target. So from here, can someone write these down since I didn't jot these? 130, this. Yes, they could. If they snap these areas, yes, they could. This, I would write these down. These might not be exact, but those would be like some of these annual triggers. That's on a double expansion break, basically. This is a huge, huge spot, though, at 130. So far, that's one reduction stick. How much reduction is that? 2.2? I wonder if that's linked to these 133.50s and 137 or 134, I mean. What did I say it was? 133.27, 134.70, 134.70. Yeah, especially like beneath 131. 131, 133 is huge, so I wouldn't be surprised for them to slightly pull back there. This one failed at 1095, so I'd be just a little bit careful on this as after stalling 1120. the range differential, I think, between where they're holding and where they're stalling here, I don't know if you can see that, it's pretty similar. It's slightly breached, but this is interesting too because it's almost the same range in where they stalled downside. Like if this was going to push, that would be exactly that same 60 to 61 cent interval. I don't know if you guys can see that. Do you see this? Like off 1060. And here, look, they're like the exact same. So ES came back, met that 74.22 and then stalled again. Again, I feel like ES is starting to reduce range because these technically can be pinnable areas for end of session today. Plus, we also have a lot of odds close to close. So I wonder if they're just kind of delaying now that they've basically hit those spots. Cisco has been really clean. This is also SPX kind of stuck in like the bear zone. Tesla's struggling a little bit here too. Where was that original template? Oh, here it is. 95.99. I need to mark these. I might end the stream, guys, and then just kind of join back into like the second half here, maybe like after 2, because I feel like it could be a little bit kind of just tight until then. I didn't really have like many odds until around this window and then later this afternoon, but I mean they could start pushing it back right here, but for now I do think it's a bit of a slow grind. Very similar to what happened earlier in the week. They may open the window too between like the 1:30, 1:15 right now is mid-session, by the way. So this is, I don't have it marked, but this is the session, mid-session. So them trying to keep the 74.20 in play here is a good thing. And we'll watch like between 1:30, 1:36. Okay, I think I'm going to focus on my stuff a bit because I have quite a bit of positions open into Friday. Thanks, Josh. I'll come back into, I think, last hour of the day.